Can I share something with you and ask you to pray about it for me and with me? The South Wales Baptist Association, of which we're a part, of which we're a member church, have recently lost a couple of members of their team. And in this interim period, when they're seeking the Lord's will for their future and for that team, they've asked a couple of Baptist ministers in the area to consider being seconded for a day a week to support the team and to explore different ministry and mission opportunities. And they've asked me to consider being seconded to do some media ministry, specifically some online video content creation. You'll know that this is something that's a real passion of mine and really chimes with my sort of my vision, my sense of calling. I'm a very creative person and love to use image and music in understanding the scriptures and in telling God's story. And there's an opportunity to explore that and to explore that further. So would you just take a listen to a conversation that Mark, the regional minister, and I have had about it, and have a think and have a pray. There will be questions, I'm sure, that will come up in your mind, and as and when they do, please do send them to either myself or to Ruth, our church secretary, so that we can get back to you on those things. We're going to be meeting as a church membership on the 21st of next month, 21st of September, for our AGM, but also for a church members meeting. Mark's going to be at that meeting, and we're going to explore that further together. But we didn't want to spring it on you. It's a big thing to think about, and we wanted to give you a chance to sort of digest it and consider it and prayerfully discern it. I'd really value that if you do that with me and with us as a church. So have a listen, have a watch, have a think, have a pray, ask whatever questions you need to ask, and let's together as a church discern what the Lord is saying at this time.
The idea came about when we were looking, I guess, at what happened during COVID and lockdown and seeing the amount of material that people were using, and we want to build relationships across the association and help people understand more of what's going on. And so one of the things that we thought of doing, ways of doing that, is to record things that people can watch and also potentially use in services as well. So last year when we were doing the Wave of Prayer, which we did with Baptist Union Wales and Cardiff Baptist College, as it is now, we shot a film there, and you were really kind in coming to help us do that and showed your skills, and that was a really helpful way of launching that. Also at our AGM, we've shown various films about what's going on in the life of the association. And last year we had, again, a church that was applying to join the association at Einon, and you very kindly came out and did a film for us, which was really helpful, especially for introducing a church to people where they had ultimately to vote on them becoming a member of the association. So it wasn't just here's a name on a piece of paper or a name that we're saying out loud, vote on them please. Here's some information, this is what they're doing, this is who they are, and it tells so much more of the story, which is where our heart is with this. And I think it's clear to see that you've got a real heart and a real gift in putting these things together. Is that fair?
It's something I love, yeah. I think the story of what God is doing and wanting to do, especially in this part of the world here in Wales, there is so much, and like you were saying, the power of film, the power of media, not just to hear about it or to read about it, but to see it, to feel like you've met the people. It is a powerful thing, and I remember when we, both of those sort of occasions were very different. When we met down, where was it now, where we filmed the Wave of Prayer, So I think what it's called. It's Ilston. Well done. That was a very sort of, we knew what we wanted. We had a very sort of tight script. But I wasn't prepared for the place. The place was just beautiful, and there's something about being there that captures a sense of it. Then when we went to Ireland to film with Phil, again we knew what we wanted, but again there was that sort of unknown dimension of what it's like. And more than that, I think, obviously there's the story, but there's how that inspires people, how it stirs hope and vision in others. And so, yes, that sort of creative side of things is something I love, definitely.
I'm just so aware we've got across the association so many exciting stories to tell, things that I hope will really encourage other people in churches and also enables prayer and that sense of actually we're part of something wider. We may be a church here in Whitchurch or wherever we are in the association, but we're not the only Baptist church, and we're not trying to do things just on our own. We're part of a wider group of believers, and to be able to share in something like that and hear about this church in the valleys where they're doing a clothing bank, where they are providing so many clothes that their pulpit is full of shoes and the whole church is full of clothes, because that is their mission, reaching out into their community at this time. Stories like that are exciting to see how home mission giving is used and the difference it makes to certain churches where there are things happening which couldn't happen without the generosity of the Baptist family. And people need to be able to hear these things and know about them and say, actually, it's great, isn't it good to be a Baptist? Obviously we're followers of Jesus first and foremost, but I am a Baptist, and when I see the stories of what's going on, I just say, I love being a Baptist as well, and I want to share that with people about these are the good things that are happening, these are the testimonies we've got, this is what we're seeing God doing, and telling that story is really key.
You mentioned prayer at the start, and I remember when we had the Zoom prayer meetings during COVID, and there were some interviews that had been filmed with, there was one I remember with a chaplain, another with a teacher, another sort of, another different context. And what it did for me was it made it really easy to pray. It was just, you just seen the person, heard their challenge, heard their passion. It would be hard not to pray. And I think that's the power of the images. I think the other thing that sort of excites me as well, I'll keep knocking my the other thing that excites me is the idea of sort of resources, creative ideas that we can share, because very often a lot of resources that we get offered as churches can come from a sort of different context and culture, and some of which can jar at times or just not fit. And to take what's being done and to share it with the wider Baptist family here in Wales, it is really exciting, definitely. So
I think for us, as we were beginning to look at this idea and saying, well, we need somebody to help us do these kind of things, and you've already done some of these things, and you've already helped us with the podcast as well, which has been great. We see it as a passion for you. And what I really hope for you is that not only do we benefit from your skills and your gifts, but I hope for you it's a real ministry opportunity where it widens the opportunity for you to use the gifts that God has given you, but also I see in you a real heart for knowing what's going on in the wider Baptist family, and that expresses itself in a number of different ways, and your desire to build those relationships as well. And I imagine that what it will do for you, certainly I find in going around, one of my privileges is it expands my thinking and actually changes the way that I can be to be more effective. And I think that's one of the blessings of going out and about, and again partly of why we're looking particularly, and we're looking at maybe there's a minister who can do this, because actually I think there are ways that their ministry will benefit from it. We could find somebody who was perhaps simply really good at tech, because that's actually what we need to do this. But here we've got something which is a combination, which I think you've not only got the skills, but you've got a ministry that I think will bless others through what you offer, but actually hopefully will really bless you and ultimately bless Bethel as well because of what you can bring through this.
I think one of the things yes, very often you can have sort of ideas or vision or whatever, and you start to measure it against your sort of current resources and think, well, is there capacity? Have we got the time or the energy or the finances or whatever? And seeing what God is doing in the bigger picture, kind of, you get a different scale of things, and that's always been true. You know, when we've met with other ministers, there's always been that sense of inspiration. But I think the other part of it is whenever you know, you've asked for different bits of media, that there's a little part of me that's always thought, I'd love to have a little bit more time, just you know, because part of being creative is, you know, you get a sense very early on of what you'd like it to be like, and you know, often you can get close to it. But if you had a bit more time, you could sort of tidy it up or whatever. Or, and I think that's the thing that excites me is to have the freedom, to have the gift of the time, to really explore some of the resources, ideas, and to push a bit further with it.
Yeah, and that's been key in our thinking as well, because clearly, I mean, you've been generous with your time in the past as well in offering to do things for us. But we want to honour you and the church and say, actually, we need to create that time for you to be able to do it so that you can fully express your gifts as well. And it's only fair on you and the church if we actually create that opportunity. So this is a new way of doing things, which is why we thought, well, why don't we try, in effect, a secondment where we ask somebody to do this for one day a week, to create that time for them. But hopefully to honour you and the church within that as well. And we'll see how it goes. And one of the things we come with this is complete flexibility. And, you know, we've talked about a certain period of time, maybe 5 to 6 months of trying this. If it's not working after a month or two, we can say, okay, this isn't working. That's not a problem. You know, we want what is best for you and the church at Bethel, as well as what is right for the association, and we work together on that. And we can say either this works brilliantly, which is what we hope, and say it's a real success, or we look at it and say, okay, it was a good idea. It's not worked out. No problem. Let's move on from this.
Yeah. Well, I think that's you know, sort of been really helpful and really important in terms of this could be a huge learning curve, you know, for me, for us as a church, and as an association. You've experienced sort of seconding ministers for various different, all shapes and sizes, really. I know Naomi, who was at Ararat, was seconded for Renew Wellbeing, and so, but yeah, that flexibility I think is going to be really helpful in terms of working out what it looks like, how it works. You know, as far as I understand it, you know, there are times I think when there will be quite a bit of media to get together, you know, there's a sort of deadline around it. Other things are sort of a bit more nebulous, a bit more, be great if we could capture this and share this. And so, yeah, it'll be exciting, I think, to try and sort of explore it and learn from it, definitely. Yeah. Great.
On behalf of South Wales Baptist Association, I'd like to say a huge thank you to the leaders of Bethel and to yourselves for considering this. We pray for you as you seek God's discernment in what is right, and we look forward to sharing with you in whatever way that might be in the future. God bless.